Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hey Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 63. Then on Thursday, showers and thunderstorms possible with a high of 82. Call the cleaning experts at Zero Res to get all the summer stains, dirt, and smells out of your home. Set up an appointment today at 9520-RES or visit ZeroResMinnesota.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hello and welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host today, Wendy Pilot. Robert is actually on the road home. He was in Madison, Wisconsin for the last day or two, but we'll be hearing from him in a little while. On Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, we discuss national and Twin Cities American Indian news and events, and as we all know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 Hotline, and you can call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for all your COVID-19 questions. We're going to be hearing from Ogimaa with news and events, and then we'll hear from Robert. We have a recording from Winona LaDuke from Honor the Earth, Louis Eagle Thunder, Bob Blake, and then finally our Sacred Animals section. But let's first go to Ogimaa with the news and events. Hello, Ogimaa.
Hello, Bonjour Anin, everybody. I'm Ogimaa Giniw Ikwe. I'm an enrolled member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and always I like to start off Native Roots Radio with some info and updates on what's happening in the fight to stop Line 3 here in northern Minnesota. This afternoon, there was a press conference with Honor the Earth and the tribal response to the mess that Enbridge has made with their Line 3 construction in Clearwater County, Minnesota. Clearwater County has experienced a massive aquifer breach and continues to flow at about 100,000 gallons a day. More damage is bubbling up with the rain from the nearly 30 frac outs that the Line 3 construction has done to northern Minnesota. Firelight Camp has made a call for Stop Line 3 support east of Bagley on Highway 2 at Airport Road. So if you're looking to go north and support the Stop Line 3 movement, you want to go east of Bagley on Highway 2 at Airport Road, and you want to meet our relatives there. Don Goodwin and others who are leading the Firelight Camp are there to greet you and to let you know how you can be of help there. Enbridge's Line 3 construction breached an aquifer in January of this year, and they illegally breached a protected aquifer known as a calcareous fen, and the loss has resulted in more than 24.2 million gallons of water. There are a lot of rare species that stand to be lost from this breach, including twig rush, small white lady slipper, which is lady slipper is the Minnesota state flower, wild sweet William, as well as cutleaf water parsnip and others. There's a lot of plants and animal vegetation that stand to lose their protected areas, and it's really just absolutely disappointing. And we'll hear more from Winona LaDuke from that press conference that I was talking about earlier today. We do have some statements for her from that press conference, and we'll play those a little bit later in the second segment. I do want to remind everybody that the Stop the Money Pipeline is reminding people that today, September 29th, is a day of action to defund massive fossil fuel infrastructure. Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Citibank are the four largest funders of fossil fuels in the world, and for years they have resisted every attempt to push them to stop funding the fossil fuel industry. But like all companies, they need to listen to their customers, which is why they are launching Customers for Climate Justice by Stop the Money Pipeline. If you can, make sure to divest from Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Citibank. Take 2 minutes today at stopthemoneypipeline.org to sign on to the Customers for Climate Justice open letter to CEOs, which will go directly to the CEOs of those and other major Wall Street funders of climate justice. Of climate damaging funding. Excuse me. Sorry about that. In other news and national news, or I should say international news, there is an art piece that was just recently installed this past week by Jay Sewell, aka Chippewa, plus full-time helpers and volunteers, and it's being presented at the Luminato Festival at the Harbourfront Centre in Toronto, Canada. The exhibit is running from September 22nd to October 24th, and it's an outdoor free event. But if you have not seen this piece yet, it's really just absolutely stunning. What the piece is an outdoor sculpture piece, and it's a buffalo skull mound. And it's based on the old historic photos from the late 1800s of the hundreds of thousands of buffalo skulls and bones and piles. Accompanying this this statue, I'm not sure if you want to call it a statue, but it's definitely an art piece in Toronto, is actually 20 images illustrating the ways in which the Canadian government has committed genocide against the Indigenous peoples over the history of Canada, both present and past examples. So it's recommended that if you're in the Toronto area, I know we do have some people who tune into us online from Canada, that you visit twice, because once in the daytime and then seeing once in the nighttime, because there's this big juxtaposition of the backdrop of skyscrapers lit up with the contrast for the mound of skulls. Makes it a really, really chilling piece. And I think it's really important. The piece is called Built on Genocide, which is something that both the United States and Canada have been reluctant to admit over the past few years. The other thing I wanted to touch base on too, Lewis has got a picture of it up that Buffalo Mound in Toronto, that art piece. So if you're watching us on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, or YouTube Live, that's definitely something you can see. Exciting thing that's happening nationally is that the Yurok tribe is helping return condors to the Pacific Northwest. So next spring, California condors are going to be in Northern California for the first time in a century. They're going to be releasing 4 young condors into Redwood National and State Parks, which is reintroducing the critically endangered species that was once only the middle of a vast range from Baja California to British Columbia. However, if it weren't for this Yurok tribe, who have fought for the return of this culturally and ecologically important bird for the past 13 years, the condor's Pacific Northwest homecoming may have never happened at all. So that is a super exciting animal story. And I hope I'm not stepping on your toes, Wendy, that I put in a little bit of an animal story today.
Not at all. I just love it.
Yeah, it's there's so many tribes throughout the nation who work really hard, not just here in Minnesota, but all over the nation, who work hard to restore and to work for treaty rights, to work for our animal relatives, to work for our plant relatives. And I always like to showcase when I can some of those pieces. So, it's, as Wendy says every day with our animal relatives, that everything we do to them, we do to ourselves, right? So if we can start bringing back some of our endangered animal relatives, perhaps we can start bringing back and bringing to light some of the issues that are happening here throughout the country and throughout the world to Native people all over. So I'm really excited as well. In our second segment here, we are going to hear from Winona LaDuke, again from that press conference today, talking about the massive aquifer breach in Clearwater County near Bagley, Minnesota. And I just want to reiterate, if you have not yet, go to stopline3.org, go to honortheearth.org, check out Firelight Camp online. There is a call right now for support to the front lines of the Stop Line 3 movement. Enbridge has announced that they intend to be putting oil through this pipeline as of October 1st. Today is September 29th. And right now, they have not even acknowledged this massive aquifer breach that they've done. So we do need some help here in northern Minnesota.
Awesome, Ogimaa. I think that was a quote from Black Elk also. What we do to ourselves, we do to others. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Up next, I think we're going to hear from our very own Robert Pilot. He is driving on the road. So we'll hear about his day today in Madison, Wisconsin. And then we'll hear from Winona LaDuke, which is a recording. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac. the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host today, Wendy Pilot. Robert is on the phone with us, and this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice. And before we hear from Robert, I just want to give a shout out to our very dear friend and listener, Tiergan. Tiergan and I had a wonderful lunch today at our very own J. Selby at 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul. So that was a lovely day. So thank you, Tiergan. Robert, you are on the phone in your car. And I know that you are hands-free. Let's just say that for fact. How are you, Robert?
Doing good. How are you doing? How do I sound? Am I okay?
You sound great. How was your day today? And we have some Sesame Street characters on our screen right now. If you're watching on Facebook Live, we have some funny characters taking a ride. I know it's Kermit the Frog. I don't know who the other guy is, but
Fonzie the Bear.
Tell us about your day today, Robert.
Well, I got up super early and I played golf in the governor of Wisconsin's kind of tourney that was really exclusive. There was only a couple Native nations and it wasn't a lot of people. And I got to talk to him about the wolf hunt. And I also got to wear a hat that was given to us from Howling for Wolves just for this purpose. And I asked him to please stop the wolf hunt. These are our relatives, and talked about, the clan system. And he was very receptive, and he knew all this stuff. And one of the things he was saying is that, or two things that he said. One, it's a federal issue that Trump's the one that relisted these. And two, he's working on something that's going to change things about the wolf hunt the next time around. So he has this on the radar. So that was exciting, and it was really exciting to represent Ho-Chunk Nation and be there playing poor golf at a really nice golf course. It's Wisconsin State University's golf course, and I'm very tired. And you guys, I was listening to the show, and you, Ogimaa, are doing a great job, and so I appreciate you guys taking over because I want to get home. I miss my wife, and I'm tired.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate that, and I miss you too. And I guess we're going to listen to a recording right now from Winona LaDuke. Why don't we go ahead and listen to that? And if we have time after, Robert, we'll come back and talk with you. So let's go ahead and listen to Winona LaDuke.
Yes, so this is Winona LaDuke from earlier today, September 29th, at a press conference regarding the aquifer breach in Bagley, Minnesota. So take it away, Winona.
Well, hello. I mean, it's a really tragic day in northern Minnesota as Enbridge prepares to go towards oil, while we see giant, toxic, oozy messes in Bagley and cracked and disrupted aquifers in Clearwater County. Enbridge's tar sands pipeline is a crime. The company, the idea was bad when it began. It was wrong in the process. It was wrong in every allocation of water and rights, and it's still wrong. And our community stands opposed to this tar sands pipeline. It's the most expensive tar sands pipeline in the world, the last tar sands pipeline, and the industry is towards its end. We are here to bear witness and to ask the Biden administration to take action to protect our water in northern Minnesota. I want someone to uphold the public trust. And it's a tragic thing that the civil rights, the human rights of not only Indian people, but Minnesotans. And the waters of Minnesota should be basically prostituted, by these agencies so that we can have some jobs from a Canadian multinational. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources was told many times, of the egregious actions. There were 28 frack outs on these rivers. There was no action. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources allocated 5 billion gallons of water to Enbridge without a hearing or an EIS. I mean, they are totally negligent, as is the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I cannot imagine the ethics of the leadership of those agencies at this moment in time, as we face this massive contamination of our water, the destruction of an aquifer, and 50 new coal-fired power plants. It is a shame to me that people represent that they are in civil service, and yet they seem to be serving a Canadian multinational over the needs of the state of Minnesota and the people of Minnesota, as well as the waters. I feel that they are at this point complicit. Governor Walz is irresponsible in his leadership in the state of Minnesota, and I believe that he should be challenged. We are faced with the fact that there's a giant toxic mass near Bagley, Minnesota, and that mass is expanding, and no one is addressing it. The federal courts have not looked well on pipeline projects, and so we are hopeful that the federal courts will uphold what is right, which is that there should be a federal EIS done on this project. There was no federal environmental impact statement done on this project. There was a shoddy one done for the DAPL project, but this one there's no EIS. That is the right thing for the Biden administration to do, and that is the right thing for the court to recognize and to order. So we are hopeful that the federal court will order such. The tribal court in White Earth has clearly made the case of the mismanagement and the egregious crimes of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And we are confident that the court will hold that the rights of wild rice should supersede the rights of the Canadian multinational. And we will stand with our people and our tribe facing this corporation, because this corporation is wrong. And we will ask the federal government to uphold the decisions that are made in our courts. The federal courts have consistently ruled against pipeline projects. This is kind of the Financial Times, I believe it was, wrote a story about that the United States is a graveyard for pipelines. I mean, we have aging pipes that are disintegrating, and we have pipeline project after pipeline project being canceled. The Jordan Cove pipeline is canceled. The Constitution pipeline was canceled. The KXL pipeline was canceled. And in Enbridge's history, the Sandpiper was canceled, but they did that voluntarily. And then in Canada, of course, the National Energy Board did not approve their Northern Gateway pipeline. This is the end of an era. These are export pipelines for profits in the middle of a climate crisis. And if the courts do not hold in favor of the water and the people, those courts have exceeded their ability to understand the reality of the situation we are in. They underestimate, and their laws, the laws of the United States, do not address the egregious crimes being committed, and that's a shame. We have also appealed to international courts and international forums, and we will continue in international courts and international forums. The United Nations, the Human Rights Commission, other commissions are looking at the case of Enbridge and the state of Minnesota and the United States government in the violations of not only the rights of Indigenous people, but our human rights in future generations.
So that was Winona LaDuke speaking at a press conference this morning regarding the massive aquifer breach committed by the Enbridge Energy Company in northern Minnesota and Clearwater County, and was also talking a little bit about the White Earth Tribal Nations case in their tribal courts against Enbridge Energy, asking them to cease and desist because it's affecting the wild rice in northern Minnesota. Robert, are you still with us? Did you get to hear that?
Yeah, I heard it all. Great job bringing that to everyone's attention. It's amazing that we're in 2021. We went through Standing Rock. We went through all these other things, and that we're still fighting this. And they're ready to put oil through there. This just sickens me.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, for them to now, Enbridge had previously announced that the Line 3 pipeline would be complete at the end of November, possibly in early December. And now they've announced that oil will be flowing possibly by October 1st, which is just outrageous. You have to know that they have definitely rushed this project and cut corners for safety, as is clear by the massive frac outs they had. And Winona's right. We're stuck here in Minnesota with nobody taking accountability for the public trust about this, right, Robert?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, the good point is, I think Winona has talked to us in person before. Go, who's watching these people? Who is on the people's side? Obviously not our own governor and his agencies. This is just outrageous, and it's something that Native people have been dealing with and BIPOC people have been dealing with for ages now, and we got to get it out there. And I really appreciate what you do and what we try to do in Native Roots Radio, and that's bring stuff like this forward. You're not hearing this other places, so it's really, really sad and sickening that a governor that we supported is doing this to us. Let's just put it that way. I mean, black and white. He is doing this to us for a foreign company.
For a few hundred jobs that aren't going to stay in Minnesota. I mean, just want to say,
I'm sure it's not the jobs. I'm sure it's follow the money. Who's paying who? You got to always follow the money, because there's money floating around here all over the place, and we don't know who's getting what. But follow the money, and it's going to come out. It's going to come out 5 years from now. Who got paid off? Because people are getting paid off. This is ridiculous. This is nothing to help Minnesota at all.
Thank you, Robert, for those thoughts. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Next Chapter Booksellers has some big new book releases coming out this fall. Works from some of your favorite authors like Bob Woodward, Colson Whitehead, Richard Powers, Margaret Renkel, and Anthony Doerr are being released in September, and you can find them all at Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. The store is open for in-person browsing, but if you're not comfortable shopping in person yet, Next Chapter Booksellers still provides free shipping for orders over $50. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Ryan here with locally owned Snap Construction. Hey, too much snapping. I have an important message. Roofing, siding, insulation, and window material rates have come down considerably. Production is up. Best of all, there's still time to lock in one of the many great city, state, and federal home fix-up loans with rates as low as 0%. Some cities are even offering no repayment until you sell or refi. We don't expect these programs to last much longer. Snap to it and set up your no-obligation inspection quote for your roofing, siding, windows, or insulation job today. Your Snap Construction remodel expert can lay out all the options for your roofing, siding, window, insulation project, along with all rebates, incentives, and federal, state, and city financing programs that you qualify for. Call Snap Construction today, home of the lifetime craftsmanship warranty. For over the last decade, we are arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, insulation contractor in the Twin Cities. Don't take our word for it. Google us. Snapconstruction.com, 612-333-SNAP.
Wake up with your favorite sexy liberal, me, Stephanie Miller, every weekday morning from 8 to 11 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Hi, I'm Scott Shamblot from Shamblot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Kickstart a new career at Metro Transit's October driver hiring events. Stop by to apply and interview all in one visit. Events will be held Saturday, October 9th from 9 a.m. to noon and Tuesday, October 12th from 4 to 7 p.m. These full-time positions start at more than $21 an hour even during training and offer outstanding benefits and right now a $1,000 hiring bonus. For location and details, visit metrotransit.org/drive. With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 63. Then on Thursday, showers and thunderstorms possible with a high of 82. Enjoy a fabulous dinner and cocktails with the best music in the Twin Cities at Crooner Supper Club in Fridley. Crooner's is off Highway 65 and Moore Lake Drive, just north of 694. More at croonersmn.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm Wendy Pilot. Robert Pilot is on the phone, and then we have Robert Blake, Bob Blake, in our studio right here, and he is the Solar Bear with the Solar News. So we always love to have Bob Blake here. So hello, Bob. How are you doing?
Hello, Wendy. You are handling it over there.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. We have the big man on the phone, and he's in the car, so he's available if we need him.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate it.
So I got a couple of stories for you, Wendy, and of course our listening audience. But I would like to start off first with one story that I think is really positive, and it's a really good story. But Ford is going to have 5,000. They're opening up a plant in the South, and this plant is going to be a battery plant, right? It's going to supply their electric vehicles, okay? And it's going to create 5,000 jobs for the community. So
that's the kind of jobs we need, because those are the jobs that will stay, unlike the pipelines. So
right.
Yeah.
And so you know what's going to happen here, Wendy? This is going to start a trend amongst the automakers, right? They are going to start opening up these big plants, right? And you know, start hiring locals, you know, because they're going to have to redo this entire fleet of vehicles to electric vehicles. So, you know, be ready, Wendy. There's going to be a lot of these electric vehicle plants opening up, creating 5,000 union jobs. I mean, this is how we make America great again, right? Like, this is how we do it, right? And
Absolutely.
I just think that's a great story. And I want to share that.
Story. And more Americans will get more jobs, and they will be union jobs, and people will be able to save money and have pensions and live a good life. So that's fantastic. Love that story.
So I want to now bring us to reality, Wendy. Okay. But there's another article that just came out, and it's basically saying that children that are born today are likely to face 7 times more extreme weather events than their grandparents. Now, Wendy, what this is essentially saying is we're going to have a very nomadic type of, of how we live in the future. Because of extreme weather, people are really not going to be able to stay right where they're at. You know what I mean? And yeah, and so this is like really serious. And these are the results of climate change. And so, you know, this is really, I mean, I don't know. It's a sad story, Wendy, but I wanted to talk about it because, the children are our future, and we really we got to get on this, Wendy. We got to pass the 3.5 trillion bill that is going to revamp and invest in clean energy. It's just so important, Wendy.
It is. Go ahead, Ogimaa.
I just want to throw this out here too. In a lot of Native cultures, our job is to be living our lives in such a way that we are preparing for the next 7 generations. And unfortunately, it sounds like the consequences of society not living in that way is, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's that number 7 times more extreme weather events than their grandparents, than my mother, for my child. I mean, these kinds of things are real realities that parents and Native people today are facing, and those of us that are trying to live in that way. I think there's a lot of frustration. Am I right, Bob, that there's so much delay in these kinds of new technologies and funding for it?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, everyone, but we got 70% of our Senate and Congress are over 65 or 70 years old. Can I just tell everybody right now, vote them out. Vote them out. They don't have a future. We have a future. Our children have a future. We need people in there that are going to be making decisions in our best interest. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but I just don't see some of the, well, except for Bernie. There's Bernie Sanders.
I know, right?
But we just need politicians that are going to be making decisions in our best interest, Wendy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know a lot of people right now who are pregnant and planning on having children, and we need their children to live in a world that's safe for them and that they could live a nice life. I mean, we don't want people who are living on the coasts of the United States having to move inland because of the storms and the hurricanes and flooding. We don't want all the people who are living in the South who are going to burn up with heat to move into the middle of the country. And we just need we just need things to be done. So hopefully it will be done. Thank you for bringing that story.
And I wanted to say too, Wendy, that I was able to participate with the Sunrise Movement last week at the state capitol. And that youth, man, they give me so much hope. They are like on it, Wendy. I mean, they're going to be our politicians in the future, and they're going to be making the right decisions for us. And so I have a lot of hope.
Hey, Bob, I have a question for you. I read and I saw this come in my newsfeed. I'm like, this is a Bob Blake question. This is totally a Bob Blake question. The Lee chapter of Navajo Nation started discussions Monday about a proposed red antelope solar energy and storage project in the Navajo Nation between Page and Cabito. I don't know. 4,000 acre project. They said that it's going to have 18,000 megawatts. I feel like that doctor in Back to the Future, megawatts under the construction of 2,000 and 2,000 megawatts in operation. And these are people that are near it's a California-based project that they're teaming up with, but it's the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority, UTUA. And I think that's great that we see tribes like that get into the solar energy business, Bob.
Yeah. That's awesome. And Lewis, and I think the National Renewable Energy Laboratory did a statistic, and there's over 100 gigawatts of potential solar that could be put on tribal nation lands. You know what I mean? Like, that is incredible. They put us out in the middle of nowhere and thought that we had nothing. Now it's coming to seeing that we've got everything. And it's our medicine and it's our wisdom and our knowledge and our traditional ways that they need now to save Turtle Island and the rest of this world and Mother Nature. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Bob. Because there was another story that I saw too about a bunch of people in West Virginia. You know where those flat mountaintops are? They got the coal out of and stuff. They totally wreck the environment there. They're trying to have solar energy on those top of the mountains and try to provide a new industry of solar. in that area that was traditionally coal. And that is the next page, right? That is where we need to go. But we've been telling them this for decades, Robert, and they don't listen to us, right? As indigenous people. But now I don't know, doom and gloom, right? It's like, is this too little too late, you would say, or do we have a chance?
Man, we got it. Man, we got this. The home team is on it. Winona LaDuke will tell you we're the home team, and I'm telling everybody, and everything that I say, why don't you get on board, and join the home team and come on in for the big win? That's what I'm telling everybody, because we can lead this way, and I'm telling tribal nations they can lead this way, and that's exactly what's happening. And just I want to say, Lewis, I was able to meet Henry Red Cloud this last week from Red Cloud Renewables. He is the godfather of solar in Indian country, and he is so psyched. And there are big plans coming down the road for Native country around renewable energy. So I'm so stoked and excited about what's going to happen, and for our people, and for the jobs it's going to provide, and just the fact that failure is not an option here, Lewis. There's no way we're going to fail here. We are going to save this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so great to see. I'm a car guy, right? I'm a big old Mopar guy, old school. But what I like seeing is that they got, Ford's getting on board, Toyota's getting on board with these electric vehicles time and time again. And as we talked about last time with you on here about building this electrical kind of fueling station in people's garage, that's going to be the future. So I'm wondering what people like Enbridge and all these politicians getting all this dirty money, what's their future going to be when the public says no more to oil?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, when you have the Cadillac Lyric get sold out in like 24 hours, Tesla Plaids are taking Porsches on the starting line. Lewis, it's all over for oil. The writing is on the wall.
Absolutely.
And hey, I know we don't got too much time, but I just want to get this last story in, guys. And the burn scars of wildfires threaten the West's drinking water, everyone. So these wildfires are threatening the drinking water of the entire Western United States. Guys, water is life. We know this. And pushing in our way of life, and we can save people with indigenous knowledge, everyone, this breaks my heart to hear this, because there's going to be a big migration, and I'm sorry, everyone, but they need to start listening to Native people and what we're saying. We can't keep on continuously destructing this planet.
Mini Wachoni, as we say, right? That was the rally cry at DAPL, Mini Wachoni. And we're going to continue to say that because we're going to be on the right side of history, Bob. And indigenous people have been on the goddamn right side of history for a long time here. And it's about time that they start listening to us, because by the time that we get the political power to make change, it's going to be too late. So you better start listening to indigenous people. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely. And that's how come you see natives creating their own companies like Solar Bear, creating our nonprofits like Native Sun. We are running for office, public office. I ran for public office. I mean, we are in all aspects of life now. And so, the revolution is here. So that's why I say, everyone, get on board with the home team, jump on board, and let's come on in for the big win. You know what I mean? And that's the truth.
You've been listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and that was Bob Blake with he's the Solar Bear with the Solar News. Up next, you'll be hearing from our Sacred Animal section, and Robert is still on the phone, so hang in there, and we will be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager. the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm awake.
We are Alusa Nation.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host today, Wendy Pilot. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. All right, lots of good howls there. I'm going to get right into this because this is a little bit long and I don't want to run out of time. This is a post that was posted by a veterinarian, and I find it very compelling. So I just want to read his post really quick, and then we could talk about it if there's time. Okay, here we go. This is from the veterinarian. I have been writing this post in my head for nearly 3 years, and until today, I have never been brave enough to post it. But recently, some people doing similar work and facing much the same reality have used social media to speak up about a topic that is so long has not been discussed. Their bravery has given me the courage to finally share my thoughts and experiences about something that I've needed to for so long. Today, I euthanized 5 dogs. This is not an uncommon task for a vet to perform, and getting into the profession, you are well aware of the fact that this is something you will have to do in your chosen career. However, the dogs I put down today were not sick. They were not injured, they were not old, and they were not unhealthy in any way. They were not untamed, and they were not aggressive. They were perfect, healthy, and normal dogs. There was no reason for them to lose their lives today other than that they were failed by humans because of the current overpopulation crisis of domestic animals, particularly dogs, that so few people are prepared to accept and try to understand. The euthanasia of healthy animals by animal welfare organizations and shelters across the world is something that we need to start talking about, but it is not an easy topic for someone who is in the line of work to discuss. One, because how can you possibly put into words something that is so deeply personal and difficult to come to terms with in your own mind? And two, how can you risk the possibility of losing such important funding that keeps welfare organizations and shelters alive by drawing attention to something that the public at large simply know very little about and few people understand? The dogs that I put down today were so excited to see me. How lucky they were to have someone in their kennel giving them attention, and maybe, just maybe, they'd even get to be so lucky to be taken out for a walk. Their tails were wagging and everyone was jumping for joy. One of them was nervous and scared of me. This was a dog that had likely never had much in the way of attention or love from a human being. I have tried everything possible to make the task easier for myself and for those who assist me. I have tried doing it in their kennels. I have tried doing it on the grass outside so the dogs can walk for a bit to experience one last bit of freedom and fresh air. I have fed them last meals. I have done it in the clinic, and nothing makes it easier. The only thing that makes it bearable for me is to sedate them first, so they are sleeping when their lives end and not wagging their tails looking at me. I know this is a luxury that many other people doing this work do not have access to. Today, I chose to put them down in their kennels after I sedated them, letting them leave on a bed and a blanket that they have used for comfort for the past few weeks or sometimes even months. I take care not to let the other dogs or animal witness, but still the others around them must know. Usually the dogs bark endlessly at any small movement or sound, but there is nothing more deafening than the silence of nearly 100 dogs while ending the life of one of their neighbors or friends. They must know, and I so often wonder if they are thinking that will be next or when it will be their time. In their final moments, I tell each of them that I am sorry for those who leave behind friends, puppies, or siblings. I promise them I will take care of them and do my very best to find them homes or to see that they are cared for properly. These are trivial words compared to what I should be saying to them, but it's hard to give them the apology they so deserve in the short time it takes for their life to leave their little bodies. What I should be saying to them is that I'm sorry you never got the opportunity to experience what it's like to sleep on a couch. And I'm sorry that those who did get to sleep on a couch once have ended up being unwanted and failed by the humans who took them into their homes in the very first place. I'm so sorry that they were born into a world that didn't have space for them and for so many others. I'm sorry that they weren't pretty enough or the right breed to be one of the chosen ones. And I'm sorry that for months, or some of them nearly a year, countless people walked past their cage and decided not to choose them or to leave and rather choose to buy a puppy somewhere else instead. I have tried my best to cope with it, as I know many others do too, but by doing what I believe is everything humanly possible to find unwanted dogs and cats homes. Just one second. I spend hours of my time holding them while they pose for photos, writing posts for Facebooks, advertising them, and putting their stories and personalities into words as best I can, all in the hopes of someone deciding to choose them. I talk to people, encourage them to adopt, but this does not always work. I have spayed until 10 p.m. at night because if I can just do one more spay, it might help. Like so many others in this line of work, I have done hours of work behind the scenes and out of the public eye for no benefit other than hopefully having to euthanize one less healthy animal. I have done my fair share of adopting too, having adopted 8 dogs, and regularly contemplate whether I could take on another 1 or 2, despite my home already being near overrun. But it's still not enough, and the burden of this crisis and the war that we are fighting against overpopulation is not to be borne by only a small group of people across the world who are prepared to sacrifice so much because they are not ignorant to the reality of what is going on around them. It is something that everyone who has ever loved an animal has to accept as their fight too, which is one of the reasons I am writing this post, and I have been trying to write it for so long. Everyone has a way in which they can contribute to this fight, and it's simple. You can volunteer, spend time at a local animal shelter or organization so you have better understanding of what is happening out there. The animals in the shelter love attention and walks, even if only to make their time more comfortable until it's their time to end. Donate if you can, and especially towards sterilization programs. We must stop these animals at the source. Adopt if you are in the position to get a new pet. There is no reason to go out and buy a dog or cat when there's so many perfect ones looking for homes. If everyone who did choose to adopt, the world would be a much better place. Thank you to those who contribute and to support me in my work, especially through donations towards my sterilization program. Every donation that helps me do a spay gives me the strength to face another day, and I have a lot of hope that we can change the world one spay at a time. I only wish to create more awareness about the crisis we are facing, and I hope that those working in this line feel that my words here have done this important topic justice. I do hope that in my lifetime I could live in a world where no healthy animal is euthanized, due to the lack of space, lack of homes, and lack of resources available. I am not sure if I ever will get to see that reality, but I think we all know by now that I will never give up trying. And that is from a veterinarian. And I just hope that by reading that, if I can get one person to adopt and do not shop, my work is done here. And this veterinarian who wrote this heartfelt message, his work is done. There are only 1 out of 10 dogs and 1 out of 12 cats born ever finds a permanent home here in the United States, and that's the sad truth. That was a really hard post for me to read, even though I read it probably 10 times to try to desensitize myself and not cry while reading it. And I hope that everyone out there can also spread the word and talk to people who they know, and so they don't go out and get a cockapoo or a labradoodle or any pet there that they can buy a breeder. I'm going to end with these thoughts. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I was your host today, Wendy Pilot. We'll be back tomorrow. And come back and listen to us tomorrow. Thank you.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine